I've been thinking more and more recently about what it means to wake up to a life you're excited about. And that has become more prevalent as I've gotten older and as I've approached and passed midlife. I'm not talking about like a huge overhaul or like completely changing your life or your lifestyle, but just what are some things that can make you excited about your day to day? If something doesn't feel aligned or feels off, it might just be worth taking a step back and noticing your day to day and how you feel and what you might be able to tweak or change or look forward to so that you're more excited about your life. I used to think that having a full, happy life came from making big decisions or hitting big milestones, like making a certain amount of money or owning a certain type of home or driving a certain type of car. But as I've aged, I've learned that that's not necessarily true, and it's really more about the day to day little things that add up to create more joy in your life. And I think we often tend to stay in routines and habits because they feel familiar and comfortable. But if they're no longer serving us, it's really time to reevaluate and ask yourself whether or not it's time to let go or tweak your process a little bit. Now, for me, it's been a combination of things. And obviously, I talk a lot about my health and fitness and my running. My running has really given me something to look forward to, multiple times a week. I really enjoy my training runs. I do tend to listen to books or podcasts that kind of get me motivated or maybe just something that's interesting. Like I really enjoy listening to stories of people who have overcome obstacles and difficulties. Sometimes I listen to true crime, like just things that are interesting so that I look forward to going out for my run, even if I'm not looking forward to running, which does happen. But also, I really enjoy being out in the sunshine, getting out with nature. We have lots of really cool wildlife around here in Florida. I just saw an alligator in the pond that's right next door to our neighborhood on my last run. So that was pretty cool. So just things like that. Like I'm always looking for like the bright spot in that. But I also really enjoy the challenge of it, signing up for races. I've hit multiple PRs this year, which was really exciting. And, just those are the kinds of things that have really kept me going. Now, another piece of that was my decision to let go of alcohol. And that was really because it just didn't feel aligned with who I was anymore or the type of life that I wanted to live. I didn't want to live with nights where I had insomnia, mornings where I had headaches, not feeling well, lower energy. And so when I let go of alcohol, that was really something that made a huge difference for me. And so I've continued that because I like the way I feel. And there's no reason to continue something that doesn't work well for me or add add to my life. It was actually, I felt like it was kind of like taking away from my lifestyle. I'm also thinking more intentionally about how I spend my time, who I spend my time with. And, obviously there are going to be some things that I have to do because there may be work obligations or family obligations or, social obligations. Like there are some things that maybe we don't feel like doing, maybe we don't like particularly enjoy doing, but there's still things that we're committed to that we need to do. I'm talking about how I spend my free time and, just making sure that what I'm doing is adding to the joy in my life and, just to my overall happiness. And that really helps to, make me a happier person. So none of these things were really like life altering on their own. They all certainly contributed to having a more joyful life, but it was really the combination of all of these things. And also just like always being aware of that. I often ask myself, is this something I really need to be doing? Is there something else that I could be doing that would contribute to my overall health and happiness? And the more that I ask myself that, the more I've been able to refine my own habits and my lifestyle so that I've really sort of cultivated a lifestyle where I look forward to every day. I know that sounds corny. I know that's super cheesy, but isn't that what we all want? We want to live a happier, healthier life. And so if there are steps that we can take to do that, why wouldn't we? I'm not saying that I jump out of bed every day all excited to get my day started. In fact, I'm kind of the opposite. I do get up early in the morning, but I also kind of take my time. I slowly kind of ease into it. And I know there are people like my husband often will like just jump out of bed and he's like in a super good mood and very energetic. And I'm not, I'm not that way at all. However, I do like getting up early. I like kind of like those quiet morning moments. And this is really more about like having time that feels like yours, having some things in your life that are yours. And, it's not about like what your husband's doing, what your kids are doing, what you need to do for all of them or work. It's not about any of that. This is about finding just a few things that are just yours and things that you can look forward to and be happy about. And for me, that looks like making these videos. I'm actually really enjoying this. I've been doing it for a few months now. I'm not really like a big, like, in your face kind of person. So putting myself on camera, making these videos was a little intimidating at first, but I've also found that I've been getting fantastic feedback from people. Just a couple times where people would say, like, wow, this really helped me. Like, that is really meaningful to me, and that's why I do this. But it's also been kind of therapeutic for me. It's forced me to look at things in a different way. It's forced me to really think about, the topics that I would find helpful. And in turn, I would hope that you would find helpful as well. So those kinds of things really bring me joy. Also, obviously, my running, being able to get out there and run several times a week, having, the health to be able to do that. I mean, I've shared before that I have had health issues in the past that prevented me from exercising at all, save from like, maybe a short walk around the block. And that was super frustrating for me. So I am very grateful to have the opportunity to do that. And so whenever I'm feeling like, oh, I don't feel like running today, or, oh, I don't feel like lifting weights today, I remind myself that this isn't something I have to do, it's something I get to do. And that usually snaps me right back into the right frame of mind. And they say that you'll never regret a workout that you do. And that's so true. I mean, there have been times where I'm like, oh, I really just don't want to. But as soon as I'm finished, I feel amazing. And so that's another thing that I kind of focus on is just like, okay, well, it's only a 40-minute run. In 40 minutes, I'm going to feel fantastic. And that has always come true. So I'm not lying to myself. And so those are the kinds of things that I would encourage you to look at as well. Like, are there things that bring you joy that even when you do them, sometimes you don't feel like it? Focus on what comes next. Focus on the results that you're getting, focus on how you feel, and that can really make a huge difference. This really brings us back around to self trust. And I've talked about this before, but when you make a commitment to yourself and you follow through, for example, if you say that you're going to eat 3 servings of vegetables every day for a week and you do that, it starts to show you that you can do the things that you commit to do and that you can trust yourself because you made a promise to yourself and you kept it. And it's just like if somebody else makes a promise to you, if they promise you something and then drop the ball, it's a lot more difficult to trust them. But if they follow through on what they said they were going to do, then you begin to trust them more and more. And it's the same thing with yourself. If you are constantly breaking promises to yourself, it's really time to step back and start being honest. Why aren't you following through on those things? Is it something that you really wanted or not? And if it's not, then it's time to reevaluate, because why waste your time and feeling stressed out, feeling guilty, feeling, like you've let yourself down. If it's not that important to you, then don't worry about it anymore. Now, if it's something health related, obviously it's important to find a way. If your doctor is telling you you need to reduce your blood pressure or make changes to your lifestyle, then yes, it's important that you find a way to do that. But it doesn't have to be a complete overhaul. It can be gradual, again, depending on what your doctor says, but finding things that you enjoy, finding healthy foods that you like. If you don't like drinking water, maybe finding like different flavorings that you can put in it so that you can stand to drink the water. If you don't like to exercise, there's got to be something. I mean, even like, throwing on your favorite song and having a dance party in your living room, that counts as exercise. Walking around the block, those kinds of things. There are ways to find things that you enjoy so that you're still improving your health without like driving yourself crazy. And as you complete those tasks and build those habits, that's when you start to really trust yourself and also start to believe that you're able to create change and that you're able to live differently than you had before. And that can be really exciting. All of this feels especially relevant now, especially with my kids getting older. I talked a lot about that in last week's video, where, my youngest is 16 now. She's not going to need me as much anymore. And I'm just looking for other things that can fill me up. Spending time with her, being needed by her, those are things that have really defined who I am for a long time. And when that starts to go away, it kind of makes you wonder, like, well, what am I here for? Who am I? And, what's the point of life and all of these things? But there are so many different things that you can focus your attention on that will also bring you joy. Now, nothing will ever bring me as much joy as being a mother. I can unequivocally say that without a shadow of a doubt. However, there are other things that I can do for myself that bring me joy, just me, things that are just for me. And that can be really difficult to do when you're dealing with younger kids. But when your kids start to get older, as we start to get older, it really starts to show you what's important and where you want to be spending your time. We don't want to be spending our time on things that drain us or just make us feel more of like a negative feeling. We want to be doing things that are positive, that are contributing to our overall growth, that are contributing to our health and our general well-being. I think a lot of us feel kind of stuck, like we're set in our ways, we're in our late 40s, early 50s, whatever, and it might feel like it's too late to change anything, but it's really not. There's so many different things that you can be doing. And there are women who are starting businesses at this age. They're going back to school at this age. They're shifting careers. They're moving across the country. Like there are so many different things that you can do. Other people our age are doing it. There's no reason why we can't as well. It's just a matter of figuring out what those things are that are really going to feed your soul. Other women often, worry that like maybe they should just be grateful for what they have, because doesn't it mean that if they want something more that they're not grateful for what they have now? And that's not necessarily true either. I'm very grateful for my family, for my friends, for my home, for everything that I have in my life, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to enhance things. That doesn't mean that I don't want to be my best self so that in turn it can affect my family. It can really make an impact on how we all care about each other, how we all spend time together. And so wanting more for yourself is not selfish, and it doesn't mean that you're not grateful. It just means that you see that there's room for more. And you don't need to overhaul your entire life. You don't need to have a big reason to make changes. You don't have to make a huge change. It's all about identifying the parts of your life that maybe are a little bit draining or that you dread, and see where you might be able to make some little tweaks. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to change everything. And you may have a job or you may have a home that you don't love, and it might not be feasible to make changes to those things right now, but maybe you could make small tweaks. Maybe there's a new project that you could ask to work on at work, or maybe maybe you could like redo one of the rooms in your house to make it a space for yourself. I mean, I've done that here. This is my office, but it's also where I hang up my medals and where I keep some of my favorite collectibles, and it's my space. And, I spend a good part of my day in here because this is where I work, but it really it brings me joy because I'm surrounded by things that I care about. So again, there are lots of different ways of doing this, but when you can identify the things that maybe don't feel aligned with your life or what you want your life to look like, that's the best place to start. And then you can start to think of different solutions to make those things either more tolerable or remove them altogether and replace them with things that do bring you joy. One piece of this that I think is really essential is having things to look forward to. So maybe that's a vacation, maybe that's a day out with the girls, maybe it's a spa day. For me, I've been signing up for a lot of running races because I enjoy them and they also keep me motivated. So if I know that I have a race coming up, not that I'm not really one to slack on my workouts anyway, but if I have something coming up, then I feel like I'm almost like taking it more seriously because I'm working towards something. So that gives me something to look forward to. Holidays are always something nice to look forward to. And if you don't have something coming up, create something. Maybe it's a shopping day with a friend, or maybe it's going to see a play or concert. They don't have to be, it doesn't have to be like a huge thing, like a vacation, just something that you're excited about that you can look forward to. And I always try to have several of those on my calendar, coming up in the next month or two, because it just helps me to be excited about what comes next. This weekend alone, we're running a 5K at SeaWorld with a bunch of friends. And I'm very excited about that. Not just for the running piece of it, but just to be in a new location. I've never run through SeaWorld before, to be with other friends. We often, my husband and I run races together, but not with like big groups usually. Sometimes we'll meet up with people afterwards, but I often run races completely by myself. So this is something that is different and I'm excited about it. And then on Sunday, we're taking our daughter to go see a play. It's a favorite of ours. So we're really excited about that. And then we're going to go out to dinner afterwards. So those are the kinds of things that I fill my weekends with so that I have something to look forward to every week, because maybe I'm not having such a great work week. That's kind of rare because I really do love my job, but there are weeks that are stressful or that are frustrating, or that there's just been like a lot of work. And so I can look at my upcoming weekend and say, oh, I have this coming up. I can't wait to get there. So, think of a few things that you can add to your schedule that you can look forward to. And again, it doesn't have to cost money. It doesn't have to be a big thing, just something that makes you happy. You can start small with all of this. And I would also really encourage you to think about those action goals that I've talked about however many times now. It really makes a difference to have something that you're working toward, but also building the habits to get there. So, for my races, like I said, yes, the race is the outcome. That's sort of like the end goal, and it's the thing that I'm looking forward to. But it's the training, it's the steps that I need to take to get there that really help to build my confidence, to build my trust in myself. And that all helps to create a happier, more joyful life. Just know that you are allowed to build a life that feels good to you. You don't have to stay stuck in patterns that drain you or make you feel uncomfortable or less than. And you're allowed to look for things that are aligned with the kind of life that you want to be living. So, look for those opportunities, think about that. And I really hope that this has been helpful and has resonated with you, because I talk a lot about this. And if you would like to get more content on this, please make sure that you're following. Leave a comment down below so that we can continue the conversation, because I would love to hear about what it is that brings you joy, or maybe something that you're planning on changing or removing from your life, just like I did with alcohol, to really help enhance your life. I would love to hear about that stuff. So please leave comments, make sure you follow, and I'll see you next week.